Alright guys, 6 new fragrances. I've got 6 fragrances here that I've been wanting to pick up, and lots of stuff is coming out. A lot of stuff. I think maybe since we're kind of slowly getting back on track in the world, I guess we kind of are. The releases have really picked up, and there were some really big launches and things like that. And these are ones that I've been curious about, and I wanted to let you guys know all about these 6 fragrances. So one of the fragrances I haven't opened up yet, but I've worn samples. The rest I've actually worn at least once, and I'm going to let you know what they smell like and what I think about them. So if you want to find out about these 6 fragrances, not all of them are brand new, but they're new to me, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out. Some good stuff. I visited ZGO Perfumery recently, and I bought 2 fragrances from there. And a few designer fragrances that I've been wanting and kind of curious about. So I've got 2 designer fragrances, and the rest of them I ordered online, and they're here. So it's 6 total, new to me. One of them I think is from last year, but the rest of them are all from this year. And so I thought, I'd give you my impressions and thoughts on these 6 fragrances and let you guys hear what I think about them. And you guys like new fragrances and like to hear, my thoughts and things about them as well. So I'll let you know about these, but before I do, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So let me know, what are the latest, newest, most recent pickups that you have, picked up, purchased, bought, ordered, things like that. And ones that you're enjoying and ones you're not enjoying, which ones were blind buys, yada yada. So there were a couple of blind buys here, I think. Yes, there were 2 blind buys. 2 I've smelled at the stores that I picked up myself. 2 from ZGO Perfumery that I smelled and picked up. And so I'll let you know each one. But the first one I'm going to tell you about is this latest one from the house of Comme des Garcons called Sunscreen. So it comes in a very interesting packaging, and I kind of wanted to open this up on camera because from what I heard, they couldn't show me the actual presentation there because they had already opened up their store at ZGO. I bought this at ZGO. But I'm a fan of Comme des Garcons, and I picked up some of their latest fragrances, Rouge, Copper, and this is the latest one, Sunscreen. And supposedly it has coconuts. I've kind of digging coconuts lately, so we shall see how this is. So this is a kind of a totally different packaging than some of the last couple of ones I did. If you haven't caught my reviews for Rouge or Copper, go check those out. That presentation, or those 2 bottles, were similar but different colors. Here, the presentation is completely different. So they've got kind of like a very soft, almost like if you buy some little, I don't go swimming much because not much here in San Francisco where you can go swim unless it's swimming pools, but it's also very cold. But those little floating things that you buy that you float on in pools, or I guess on the sea or in some lakes and things like that. That's what the material seems like here. So that's kind of cool because it is inspired from Sunscreen in the end, and makes sense that they would use something like this. I am going to see if I can pry this open with my finger. But let me know if any of you out there are fans of Comme des Garcons. Comme des Garcons is a very avant-garde designer. And their fragrances can be avant-garde. This one I believe is fairly avant-garde, but then again their last fragrance called Rouge, which I initially thought was rose, turned out to be beetroot. So that was, I think it's kind of a unique kind of a smell for a fragrance. So this to me is packaging like this, and coconuts is kind of interesting, but let's open this up and see. Way to go. Or maybe it's this way. What the heck? Well, it's not that interesting packaging. There it is. I guess it's sort of kind of. I've seen some other kind of more interesting visuals of this fragrance, but here is the bottle. It spells out Sunscreen sun here and then turn it around and then right there. But Sunscreen from Comme des Garcons features notes of solar notes, coconut, peach, Heliotrope, Musk, Cedar, Lily of the Valley. So let's go ahead and smell this one. And again, let me know if you're a fan of any fragrances from Comme des Garçons. One thing I should say, this bottle really reminds me of a diesel fragrance I wore in the very early 2000s. It could be the late 90s as well. Anybody remember that fragrance? I forgot the name of it. I'm not the biggest fan of diesel fragrances currently, but this bottle reminds me of it for some reason. And let me know how many of you like the idea of sunscreen, suntan lotion, coconuts in fragrances, beachy fragrances. As I said, I wore a sample of this one. I can certainly pick up the coconuts. I can certainly pick up the, you know, the beachy vibe. But there is something very plasticky here, which is kind of interesting. Plastic, vinyl, you know those floating toys that you would buy and blow up and kind of like float on? That's what I was trying to explain. I get that kind of a vibe here, which makes for an interesting kind of a fragrance because it's non-conventional. It's not some normal stuff that you would typically wear at the designers and things like that. And of course, Comme des Garçons is a designer, but this makes for a kind of a very interesting wear. It definitely has a plasticky vibe. I'll have to wear more on the skin, but I wasn't getting much of the peachiness from this one. Definitely powdery, definitely musky, and definitely plasticky coconut, like coconut plastic, if there is such a thing. Anyway, sunscreen. Check it out if you don't know it, and let me know again if you're a fan of you know, beachy fragrances, Comme des Garçons, coconut, and things like that. I'm planning on doing a coconut video sometime in the near future, and also we're kind of nearing the end of summer, so it might be a little late, but I think I'm still going to put something together either way for anyone after summer's over. They want to, you know, smell like the beach, they can by wearing those fragrances. Anyway, that is Comme des Garçons sunscreen. This next one is also coconuts. Now this one is a complete blind buy, and I believe this came out last year. This I actually recently Instagrammed about from the house of Loewe. Loewe, I think that's how you say it. It's a Spanish house, designer house, owned or under LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moet and Hennessy. This is PAULA'S Ibiza. I was really drawn to this box. I've been drawn to it for almost a year, and I've been wanting it for almost a year, and finally ordered it because not only does it have coconut, but it's a beachy fragrance in the end, but it's a different take on beachy, like so different that I have not smelled a beachy fragrance like this. You do pick up the coconuts, but it's so green, like overly green. Here's the bottle. Now I've got a couple of videos on the channel about this brand. It's a very unhyped, underhyped brand with great fragrances, like Loewe 001 Man, very sexy, musky, ambrette heavy, powdery fragrance for men. Even Loewe 001 Woman is also really great. It's a coconut slash, no, what am I saying, not coconut, sandalwood slash like tuberose, I believe. But this one, PAULA'S Ibiza, is driftwood, coconut, ambergris, patchouli, galbanum, frangipani, bourbon vanilla, narcissus, mandarin orange. Actually, such a great scent. I like the idea of fusing, or you know, the fusion of coconuts with green notes, and it's a very bitter green experience contrasted with the coconuts. You definitely pick up lots of woods here, and you do pick up the sweet mandarin orange touch in here as well. It's really pleasant, but you know, it just kind of a contrast that is very appealing to me. Some people say it kind of smells like fig, because when I posted my photo of this, there was a comment there that it smelled like fig. I could see that the galbanum note in here comes off like figs. It kind of smells like figs, but it's figs, coconut kind of a thing. But a very interesting smell, but a great smell. Kind of like Dior has that Balade Sauvage with kind of its ozonic, solar, minerally kind of fig fragrance. I kind of think that this, not necessarily smelling like it, but you know, kind of inspired by beaches and things like that, kind of unique take on a beachy experience. So I really like this one, and even though it's called PAULA'S Ibiza, it's totally unisex, very unisex. It's very green. In fact, there's a little pepperiness in there for me, kind of smelling like black pepper, and even kind of like green bell pepper because it's so green. So there's that kind of a smell in here. Very, very unique fragrance. I hope you guys get to try this one. I'm impressed at how great it is. And it's, even though it's a 50 milliliter bottle, this retails for somewhere around $100. So it's not overly expensive, but when you factor in the fact that it's 50 mils versus 100, it turns out to be about $200 for 100 ml. But then again, you only have to shell out around $100 to get a 50 ml bottle is what I'm trying to say. A great scent. Check it out. Loewe, PAULA'S, Ibiza. I highly, highly recommend that one. It's very, very unique. All right, this next one is also even more unique. This one I've been very, very curious about, and I hardly talk about this house, Parfum d'Empire, which has one of my favorite fragrances. It's Ambergris. Did I feature that fragrance recently in a dried fruit? No, I did not, but it features, no, maybe it doesn't feature dried fruit, but it's a boozy Ambergris. But the latest fragrance, MAL-AIME, very, very interesting, and once again, very, very green. So we're kind of going into, starting with coconut, going into a green coconut. Now we're leaving the coconuts, going into a complete green direction with MAL-AIME. I don't know if you guys know this house. Let me know if you're a fan of this house. Hardly ever spoken about. All the fragrances are created by Marc-Antoine Corticchiato, which I think he's a great perfumer. He does some great work. And even though I don't speak much about this house, I think I'm going to. There's some great, great fragrances in this house, and this is definitely very, very unique, very, very green, and it features notes of Nettle, Orris, Thistle, Hellebore flowers, Blackberry. So those are the notes that they've credited for this particular fragrance, but the couple times I wore this one, it has a great, great dry down. I felt like there was something patchouli-esque in the dry down, which made it sexy, but it's so different that I haven't smelled anything. It's kind of like giving credit to all the weeds we chop up and throw away, you know, after the growth in your garden or in some kind of a park or something. There's lots of weeds growing all the time, and what do we do with it? We mow it and chop it all down and throw it away. And I believe that's what this fragrance is all about. It's you know, bringing up the fact that there is this particular kind of thing that we go through, and we kind of like chop down and kind of end up throwing it away. So it's that smell basically is what they've captured here, and it's a great scent. It does have this powdery touch, which I believe is coming from the Orris. So there's definitely that there, but it's Orris, but it doesn't get buttery as much as normally Orris fragrances can get, the Orris butter, but it's all contrast with lots of greenery, like intense greenery, but kind of like a fusion of dried greens and also fresh greens, because in the end, when you're chopping this stuff up to throw away, you've got the dry stuff that's all dried up and then shriveled up and everything, and then the fresh stuff that's still there, and you're kind of like cleaning it up, making it nice and presentable, so that if anybody comes in, you can kind of like have a nice looking garden or something. That's what I like about this one. It's a very, very unique green fragrance that definitely deserves attention. Again, very underrated house. I really enjoy the perfumer. He does some great work. He has done some stuff for other brands as well, but mostly it's his brand, Parfum d'Empire, and this is called MAL-AIME. Let me know if you know this one. Let me know if you know Parfum d'Empire. If you do know and you have some fragrances from that house, let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. Alright guys, we're getting into the designer category now, and we've got Zara next up, and Zara's Bergamot and Leather Spritz. It also says Rain #2, which I don't know what that means. I don't know the collection. Zara launches so many damn fragrances that I can't keep up. So I ordered this online for it to be delivered to the store here, and it took like 3 weeks. I don't know why it took so freaking long. Finally it came. I've ordered fragrances from them before, and they came in around a week. This one took so long, so maybe they were out of stock. I don't know. But some of you guys recommended me this as a replacement for Dior Homme Intense or Dior Homme Parfum. Anybody try it yet? Let me tell you what I think about it. First of all, I opened up my box, and this is what I saw. This torn up nasty mess in here with its kind of cheap packaging. So this is how I got it. So it's not very tough for that bottle if it's moving around in there to kind of keep it firm, so it's tore it up. So we won't complain about that. But I did wear it once. I wore it once, and I could see it being as a great alternative to Dior Homme or Intense or Parfum. This is the bottle, but there is something not so high quality about it, not so smooth about it. But if you can get past that, which I was able to, I felt like it was kind of an alternative to Dior Homme Intense and Dior Homme Parfum. To me, it's kind of a fusion of both, not necessarily one or the other. The other thing about this is it's created by Jo Malone. Jo Malone is like doing a lot of fragrances for Zara now all of a sudden. Jo Malone sold her main brand in the 90s to Estee Lauder, and I believe that contract she signed wouldn't allow her to make fragrances. I don't know what the deal is, but she had her other brand in England called Jo Loves, which never made it here. I believe the contract didn't allow her to make another brand with her name or something. But now she's making fragrances for the brand. And even though I like this one, I can tell that they're not using the highest quality notes. So there are some kind of not necessarily smooth notes in here. If you're going to compare to Dior Homme Parfum, which is one of my favorite fragrances, I really know that fragrance from top to bottom. And this doesn't compare, and then it does compare, if that makes sense. I think it's a substitute for it. You can use it, but just be warned, it's not as, it's not as smooth as Dior Homme Parfum or Dior Homme Intense. Both of those fragrances are great. I love them. And you can use this as an alternative. It's $35.90. But let me tell you some more of the notes. Leather, iris, oud, bergamot, lavender, and amber. I guess the only thing that's missing is ambrette. But let me go ahead and spray it once again. Let's test it out. This looks like the same bottle, or for the same collection that I did a video about recently of Jo Malone created fragrances, and I have 3 or 4 in that collection. But yeah, I mean, it reminds me of it. It's not identical. The lavender sticks out or stands out a lot here. It's not as musky. It's definitely oudy. Oud is really prominent. Bergamot, not so much, but I believe the bergamot is adding its freshness, and then the leather is there. So yeah, it's a different take on Dior Homme, or Dior Homme Intense and Dior Homme Oud, I think. I recommend it, especially if you're having trouble finding Dior Homme Intense, or even, the more difficult one to find, Dior Homme Parfum. I think this will do. Just keep in mind, it's not the highest quality, notes or whatever they use, ingredients to create this fragrance. But you can use it, and won't break the bank either. And then, of course, it's easier to get. You can just order it directly from Zara. It won't cost a lot of money. Anyway, it's a 90 ml bottle, and it's about $35.90 for that one. So next, we're going to do 2 very designer-esque fragrances. First one is this one, Phantom. Yes, I was drawn to the bottle, but you know what? Even though I hated their previous fragrance, Invictus, I hated it. That's probably like one of the most hated fragrances of mine. I've never hated a fragrance as much as Invictus. In fact, on my previous channel, I actually did a video of me smashing a bottle of Invictus. I won't go into that as detail. But this one, it's not as bad as Invictus. But let me tell you what I'm getting with this one. First of all, they told me at the store you can scan your phone and it brings up a page, and it took me to a page, and that page there were some music options. You put in your birth date and things like that, and it gave me some music options, which I didn't listen to any music, but that's kind of an interesting feature. Never seen that in a fragrance before. The bottle is good looking and also kind of tacky at the same time, so there's one thing good going for it and one thing negative going for it. I think, I don't know how successful this will be. I don't know if it'll be as successful as Invictus. I don't know if it'll be as successful as 1 million. We shall see. But it seems like I went to Bloomingdale's to buy this, and it was sold out. So then I walked over to Macy's to buy it, and they had plenty of it there. So I don't know if Bloomingdale's had less of a quantity, but I believe this was launched all at the same time at every store. Anyway, I was drawn to it. I was drawn to it because it has my favorite perfumer there, Dominic Ropion, along with Anne Filippo, who is doing a fragrance for Frederick Malle that's coming out soon, called Synthetic Jungle. So all these IFF perfumers working together, and they used 4 perfumers. This is one thing I don't like about these really big, massive launches from designers, is like they get the best perfumers to come up with some of the worst fragrances. It's like, I shouldn't blame the perfumers themselves, and probably the perfumers should not put their name on these fragrances because, I mean, come on, they're not launching the best fragrances. But I'm not hating this one as much. Let me tell you what the notes are. So lavender, lemon zest, lemons, apples, earthy notes, smoke, patchouli, vanilla, and vetiver. But for me, it's like an interesting blast right up top, like butterscotch. Like a custard, butterscotch custard. Just imagine, and I haven't eaten this in ages, but you get those little custards in cups, or like Jello butterscotch custards. Just imagine that. So custard with butterscotch flavor that you've like dug up under the earth and revealed it. So you've got this earthy smell with custard. So that's my initial experience with this fragrance. Very interesting, right? I like the gourmand thing, so I kind of thought it sounds great. It smells great at the top. I'll go ahead and take a bottle. But you know what? It eventually gets bad and bad and bad and bad and bad and bad and bad. Not as bad as Ralph's Club, and also not as bad as Invictus. Because this has a different kind of a smell. It doesn't remind me of Invictus, but it also has kind of synthetic qualities, not kind of, a lot of synthetic qualities to the fragrance. But you know, eventually once the custardy, kind of butterscotch custardy, vanilla creaminess wears off, you know, lavender appears. And once again, I can smell the lavender here, which I can't in Ralph's Club. But lavender appears, apple appears, and then it kind of, you know, just becomes kind of like this ambery thing as it's settling away and becomes boring. But I liked what I sprayed at the top. I like the way it smells. It is young. It is a very, very young fragrance. I think it's definitely targeted to young noses, young men, especially with this kind of a bottle, and so I think they'll be happy with it. I'm sure it'll be successful because Paco Rabanne does a lot of testing. Every single one of their fragrances has been kind of very, very popular, like 1 million in the latter 2000s, and then the early 2010s. Invictus came out, and then now, has it been 10 years later since Invictus came out? Since this one launched? I can't remember how long, but yeah, we shall see. But I don't hate this one as much as Ralph's Club. It's not like a major love either. But let me know, have you smelled Phantom yet? Do you like it? Do you hate it? I'd like to find out. Alright, the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is from the House of Burberry, Hero, this one right here. Once again, male targeted. Sadly, my bottle doesn't stick on. Although it does, but it's so like loose. You can't. It just doesn't. Something's wrong with it. But that's not about the scent. So this one, I like the bottle. It's classy. It's a brand new launch for the brand. I think they're kind of moving on from Mr. Burberry. This is Hero, created by Aurélien Guichard, who has his own brand now, and I think he did a good job here. But it's not anything I haven't smelled. And once again, we should never blame the perfumers, because these brands and conglomerates give these perfumers briefs. It's like, this is what we want. And then they'll probably say, well, check out that fragrance this other designer did. Make it smell a little like that. I'm sure that comes up quite a bit. They'll go to like a very well-known perfumer and they'll put the name on it just to kind of give them some kind of a hype. But I don't know. It's not a fragrance that I've never smelled before. It's good. It's classy. It's woody. Also very, very light. So it kind of reminds me of the lightness of Hermès's H24, but they don't smell alike. Just the lightness, because it wears very, very light. It's a thin fragrance, so you've got to apply a lot of this to wear it. But what's in here? Cedar, 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 juniper, blackberries, bergamot. So there is a light ambery touch in the dry down. Mostly it's woods, it's cedar. You do pick up the sparkly metallic juniper berries. and then the spiciness of the black pepper. And you know, it's lightly bergamot-y, but no, I shouldn't say it's lightly. There's definitely lots of like juiciness there, but it's a woody juicy. Does that make sense? It's not breaking any new grounds. And what I want to say is I want to compare this to the new H24 because they're kind of similar in strength and wear, very thin. But I much prefer the smell of H24 over this one. Whereas for me, woody fragrances become kind of boring. They are kind of boring smells. There's not a lot going on here. It's lots of cedar. It's just all about cedar. But you got that juniper thing happening, the black pepper and the bergamot. So it's not breaking much new ground, but I don't hate it. It's a classy wear. I think it's it could be a signature scent. It could be an office ready or office wear. Definitely similar to H24, but I like the H24 a lot more because H24 had a lot of uniqueness to it. It smelled unique, green, metallic, minerally, Narcissus. This is cedar, so it's a boring note to me. So anyway. One other thing I should say after I'm smelling this, there is a light lavendery touch in here as well, you know? It's there. I don't hate this one as much as Ralph's Club. In fact, I don't hate it. I just don't love it as much. It just seems like I've smelled this fragrance over and over again. Either way, you guys might like it. It's a great looking bottle. I do enjoy the bottle. It's classy. It's, square almost. Definitely. It's a fun looking thing. I don't know about the word hero. Do I smell heroic when I wear this one? Let's see, which superhero would wear this one? Not one of the big ones for sure, because I think it doesn't have a lot of substance, It's one of the superheroes that are not so popular probably, and I'm not remembering any names right now. But either way, Burberry Hero, and that's the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about. Let me know if you've sampled it. Let me know if you like it. What do you think about it? Again, I don't hate that one. I just don't love it. It's like, I've smelled it before. It'll probably sit there enough for me to show some clients that come in to the studio if they want to come and smell stuff all in one place, because I'm sure this will be all over. Like, I bought the Hero from Bloomingdale's. I don't know. I think it's an exclusive to Bloomingdale's, so that's the only place I could buy that one. But Phantom, as I said, was available everywhere, and so I was able to find it at Macy's. Either way, guys, some unique fragrances up top, more designer and mass fragrances towards the end. But let me know if you've sampled these fragrances. Let me know what you're enjoying lately. Let me know what fragrances you're looking for. Put a comment down so I can find out. Either way, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.